The 2-year-old keeps pointing at her father's coffin. What happens next is shocking. St. Michael's Church was steeped in sorrow, the solemn tolling of the bells blending with hushed sobs, creating a chilling atmosphere. Clara stood beside her husband's coffin, clutching little Lucy in her arms. The 2-year-old wriggled desperately, her face red from crying. "Papa, Papa," Lucy whimpered, pointing a trembling finger at the coffin. Clara's throat tightened. Samuel's sudden death still felt unreal. Just yesterday, he had kissed her goodbye, and now all that remained was a lifeless body in a wooden box. Around them, villagers whispered. Some speculated it was an accident, others murmured about fate's punishment. Among them, Madame Rose, an elderly woman, stepped forward, her gaze full of concern. "My dear, is Lucy all right?" she asked. Clara glanced down and froze. Lucy was trembling, her wide eyes fixed on a shadowy corner behind the coffin. Suddenly, the child let out a piercing scream. "Papa is trapped. He's calling for help." A ripple of fear spread through the crowd. Some made the sign of the cross. Others stepped back. Madame Rose whispered in dread, "The child, she can see." Clara's breath hitched. She turned to Lucy. "Sweetheart, what do you mean?" Lucy clung to her mother's dress. "Papa is still here. He's calling for Mama." A cold draft swept through the church, making the altar candles flicker. Then, the heavy wooden doors creaked open. A tall figure entered. Henry, Samuel's cousin. His sharp eyes scanned the room before settling on Clara. He offered a sympathetic smile, but something about it felt off. "Clara, you must be exhausted," he said smoothly. "I hate to bring this up now, but Samuel left behind financial troubles. It might be best to sell the house to settle things." Clara stiffened. Sell the house? So soon? She had never fully trusted Henry, and now, before Samuel was even buried, he was talking about money? Lucy tugged at her dress again. "Mama, Papa is trapped." Henry's gaze snapped to the child. For the first time, his confident mask wavered. The villagers murmured uneasily. Margaret, a neighbor, whispered, "A child wouldn't lie about such things." Henry forced a chuckle. Children have wild imaginations. But Clara noticed his hands curling into fists. The air in the church grew heavier. Then, from the coffin, a faint sound echoed. Thud. A hush fell over the crowd. Thud. Thud. Gasps spread through the church. Madame Rose trembled, making the sign of the cross. "Dear God." Margaret clutched her shawl. "We have to open it. No one is touching the coffin." Henry's voice rang out, sharp with panic. His outburst only fueled Clara's growing fear. "Why, Henry? What are you afraid of?" "It's just the wind," he snapped. But no one believed him. James, an elderly villager, stepped forward. "If you have nothing to hide, let us open it." Another thud from inside the coffin. Women shrieked. Some ran for the door, while others stood frozen in horror. Henry's face turned pale. "No one is opening it," he roared. But his voice cracked. Lucy clung to Clara. "Papa's waiting for Mama to open the door for him." Then, a voice called from the entrance. "Clara." Matthew, a close friend of Samuel, burst in, panting. His face was tense with urgency. "I just heard. I got here late, but there's something you need to know." He hesitated, then leaned in. "Before Samuel died, he told me Henry was pressuring him to sell the house. Samuel refused. And the next day, he had his accident." Clara's blood ran cold. Her mind raced. Henry had been insistent about selling the house. Too insistent. And now, Lucy kept saying Samuel was trapped. Was it possible? Samuel wasn't dead? The knocking from the coffin grew louder. Thud. Thud. "No one is opening it." Henry screamed again. But Clara was done listening. "Matthew," she said, her voice steel, "get the priest." "Now." Henry lunged, but James grabbed him. "You have no right to interfere anymore." Outside, the church bells tolled ominously. Inside, fear thickened. Lucy whispered, "Papa is waiting." And then, thud. The coffin shook. Terror swallowed the room whole.